Every 100 years, the galaxy holds its breath. 3 royal houses. 3 civilizations that have ruled the stars since before humanity learned to build fire. And 1 ancient tradition. A tournament so sacred, so absolute, that not even wars have ever interrupted it. The rite of the eternal vow. The rules are simple. The greatest warrior alive competes. The victor earns the right to forge an alliance, sealed not by treaties, not by gold, but by marriage to one of the 3 royal daughters of the Galactic Council. This right had never been won by the same species twice. It had never been won by a species on the outer rim, and it had certainly never been won by a human. Until now. The Grand Council Chamber of Velthari Prime could hold a city inside its walls. Its ceiling stretched so high that clouds formed near the top, real ones, conjured by ancient atmospheric processors that the architects had long forgotten how to turn off. 12,000 delegates from 47 civilizations filled the tiered seats that curved around the central arena like the inside of a colossal eye. And at the center of that eye, standing perfectly still, looking slightly confused about where he was supposed to stand, was Sergeant Marcus Cole, age 28, 6 feet even, brown hair that needed a cut 3 weeks ago. A man who had eaten military ration packs for so long that he considered instant coffee a luxury. He was scratching the back of his neck. The Velthian High Chancellor, an ancient being with 6 arms and a voice like a cathedral organ, leaned into her ceremonial microphone. High Chancellor Orzana, by decree of the Eternal Right, we present the verified champion of the 7 trials. Representative of the planet Earth, Sol System, Outer Rim, Sergeant Marcus Cole, first human in recorded galactic history to qualify for the rite of the Eternal Vow. The silence that followed was not respectful. It was stunned. 12,000 aliens stared at the human. The human waved. Nobody waved back. There was a balcony above the arena floor. A long curved platform of black crystalline stone, where the 3 royal daughters of the Galactic Council sat in matching thrones, each one carved from the geological heart of their home world. Princess Lyra of the Velthari. Her people were warriors by blood, tall, cobalt blue-skinned, with silver eyes that could track a moving target from 2 kilometers away. She wore ceremonial battle armor even at formal events, because she considered anything less a sign of weakness. She had trained in combat since she could walk. She had defeated 3 assassination attempts before her 16th birthday. She was, by every measure the galaxy recognized, the most dangerous individual in that room. She looked at Marcus Cole the way a master chef looks at a raw ingredient they hadn't ordered. Princess Lyra. He is small. Princess Sayla of the Thornari. Her people were nature-born, pale mint-green skin, enormous golden eyes, long hair that moved like it was always in a gentle wind even indoors. The Thornari were empaths. They felt the emotional frequency of everything around them. Sayla had spent her entire life learning to filter the noise of a crowded galaxy. She looked at Marcus Cole and frowned slightly. Princess Sayla. He is complicated. Princess Zara of the Corvani. Her people were intelligence. Pure, cold, perfect intelligence. Pale opalescent skin, sharp angular features, eyes like silver mirrors that reflected light in ways that shouldn't have been possible. The Corvani had built the first quantum computers in the galaxy. They had mapped dark matter with mathematical precision. They solved problems the way other species breathed, automatically, effortlessly, without thinking about it. She looked at Marcus Cole and pulled up his complete psychological profile on her wrist display. Princess Zara. His pattern is inconsistent. She said it the way you'd say something had gone wrong with a machine, but she kept reading. Nobody outside the Council's inner circle had actually seen the 7 trials. They were private. 7 challenges, held over 7 days, in 7 different environments. No weapons provided, no allies permitted, no prior knowledge of what was coming. Marcus had been told none of this when he signed up. He had signed up because his commanding officer, Colonel Chen, who owed him 3 months of back pay, had told him it was a routine interspecies diplomatic event, and that somebody needed to represent Earth, and that it would look great on his record. It had not looked great on his record. It had looked insane. Trial 1. The Gravity Maze. A three-dimensional puzzle labyrinth where gravity shifted every 90 seconds. 47 competitors entered. 12 survived the first hour. Marcus survived by doing something no alien mind had done. He stopped trying to solve the maze. He sat down in the middle of a gravity flip, let himself fall upward, grabbed a structural beam, and spent 40 minutes mapping the shift patterns by counting seconds on his wristwatch. Then he walked out calmly while 12 other competitors were still running. Trial 2. The Creature Run. A 6-kilometer sprint through an alien jungle with a genetically engineered apex predator released at the starting line 15 seconds after the competitors. The alien competitors, faster, stronger, more physically capable, sprinted immediately. Marcus jogged. Specifically, he jogged at exactly the pace he'd read somewhere that predators lost interest in a target. The predator chased the sprinters. Marcus finished last. The predator finished second to last. 3 competitors did not finish. Trial 3 through 6 involved zero-gravity combat, resource allocation under pressure, a hostage negotiation with a species that didn't have a word for mercy, and something the Council's records described only as the philosophical ordeal, which Marcus later said had been fine, actually once he realized the alien arbiters just wanted someone to argue with. Trial 7. Single combat against Greth Val, the 8-foot warlord who had never lost a fight, the alien who had broken the spine of the previous champion before that champion had finished raising his weapon. Marcus had lasted 12 seconds, but those 12 seconds had been enough, because in those 12 seconds Marcus had done something so unexpected, so fundamentally human, that Greth Val's entire combat system had simply stopped. He had laughed. Not nervously, not hysterically. He had looked up at the 8-foot alien warlord, taken a breath, and laughed, the genuine, slightly unhinged laugh of a man who had fully accepted that he was probably about to die, and had decided it was funny. Greth Val had no combat subroutine for this. He had paused for 0.8 seconds. Marcus had used those 0.8 seconds to step to the left, grab Greth Val's extended arm, use the warlord's own momentum to spin him, and put him on the ground using a wrestling hold he'd learned from a video on his phone 3 years ago. It had worked for 1.4 seconds before Greth Val threw him across the arena, but 1.4 seconds was long enough. The rules of the right were ancient, absolute. Whoever draws first blood wins. The arena floor was hard stone. Greth Val's elbow had hit it at force. A human had won the right of the eternal vow. The formal introduction of the champion to the royal daughters was supposed to be a solemn ceremony. Ancient music, ceremonial robes, a structured exchange of formal vows of respect. Marcus arrived 7 minutes late because he had gotten lost in the corridor. He also arrived holding a cup of coffee. The only coffee machine within 40 light-years existed in the human diplomatic quarter, and he had found it. And he was not going to face 3 alien princesses without it. The ceremonial guards did not know what to do about the coffee cup. Nobody had written a protocol for this. The 3 princesses stood on a raised platform. Lyra in her armor, Selah in flowing green silk that moved like water, Zara in a perfectly cut gray uniform with no ornamentation, because ornamentation was inefficient. Marcus looked at all 3 of them. They looked at him. He took a sip of coffee. Marcus, so, hi, I'm Marcus. This is more of you than I expected. They told me 1 princess. The briefing definitely said 1. Hi, Chancellor Orzena. The tradition is for the champion to meet all 3 daughters. The choice of alliance remains with the royal house that accepts. Marcus. Right, sure, that's yeah. Okay. Do any of you want some coffee? I only have the 1 cup, but the machine isn't far. Princess Lyra's eye twitched. Princess Lyra, I am a warrior princess of the Velthari. I have trained for, Marcus. Yeah, no, I can tell. The armor is incredible, seriously. Is that actual carbon lattice plating? Because on Earth we've been trying to develop that for like 40 years, and we keep Princess Lyra, do not interrupt me. Marcus, sorry. Yeah, absolutely. Carry on. A pause. Princess Lyra, I have forgotten what I was saying. Princess Sayla was pressing her fingers to her temples, which was what Thornari empaths did when something was giving them an emotional signal they couldn't categorize. Princess Sayla, you are not afraid. Marcus, a little bit. Not a lot. I've had worse weeks. Princess Sayla, you are standing before the 3 most powerful women in the galaxy. You have just won a tournament that should have killed you. And you are calm. How are you calm? Marcus, honestly, I had a really good cup of coffee about 20 minutes ago, and I think my nervous system just gave up trying to panic. Princess Zara had not spoken. She had been watching, calculating, running 17 different behavioral models simultaneously, trying to predict Marcus's next action, and failing every single time. He was, according to every predictive model she had ever built, completely impossible. She found this deeply annoying. She found it, and this was the part she couldn't explain, deeply interesting. Princess Zara. Sergeant Cole. What was your tactical calculation when you laughed at Greth Val? Marcus. Oh, that wasn't tactical. It was really funny. He's 8 feet tall and he's glaring at me like he's about to sneeze, and I'm standing there thinking, yeah, this is how it ends. And it was funny. I don't know, it's a human thing. Princess Zara. You laughed because you accepted death. Marcus. I laughed because it was absurd. There's a difference. Zara was quiet for a long moment. Princess Zara. Explain the difference. Marcus opened his mouth, then closed it, then smiled. Marcus. It's going to take more than one conversation. That night, in the diplomatic quarter of Velthari Prime, 3 royal daughters sat alone in 3 separate rooms and thought about the same man. Lyra sat on the floor of her training room with her armor still on, running sparring simulations, and kept stopping them, because every time she imagined an opponent, her mind replaced it with Marcus laughing at something that wasn't funny and somehow making it funny, and she couldn't focus. She had fought warlords. She had faced death without blinking. She had never met something she couldn't categorize. She slammed her training dummy into the wall. Then she thought about what he had said about the carbon lattice plating. He had noticed the armor. He had asked about it. Not about her rank or her bloodline or her power. About the engineering. She sat back down slowly. Sayla sat on her balcony overlooking the alien city below, and she was still trying to untangle the emotional frequency she had felt from Marcus. Thornari empaths could read the emotional state of any being they'd ever met. Every species had a frequency, a pattern, like a signature. She had never found one she couldn't read. Marcus had a frequency she had never encountered. It wasn't complicated. It was layered, like a song written in a language she almost understood. Anxiety underneath, genuine curiosity on top, warmth running through everything. And something she had no word for. A kind of reckless, ridiculous, completely unearned hope that things would probably be fine. She had never felt hope like that. Every other species hoped carefully, cautiously, with calculations. He hoped like gravity, like it was just the default direction things fell. Zara was still running the models. She had been running them for 6 hours. Had thrown out 17 frameworks entirely. She was now on attempt number 41. Trying to construct a predictive model for a species whose defining characteristic seemed to be, as far as she could tell, making extremely low probability decisions work through a combination of preparation, improvisation. She paused her model. She had spent her entire life solving things. She had never met something she genuinely could not solve. She pulled up Marcus's profile again. She started attempt number 42. The next morning, Marcus was informed that all 3 royal daughters had requested a second meeting. He was also informed that this had never happened before in the 800-year history of the Rite. He was also informed that the Galactic Council was currently in emergency session, trying to figure out what the correct protocol was, and that they would get back to him. Marcus said that was fine and went to find breakfast. He found a small cafe in the diplomatic quarter run by a Velthian who had visited Earth once and developed a deep personal attachment to the concept of eggs. Marcus sat at a corner table, ordered something that was almost an omelet, and looked out the window at a city that was 500 years older than his entire civilization. He thought about home. about his unit, about Colonel Chen, who was absolutely never going to let him live this down. He thought about 3 princesses who had looked at him like he was something they'd never seen before. He thought about the fact that he had come here to represent Earth. One person, one species, one chance to show the galaxy what humanity was. He hadn't come here to be the strongest. He had never been the strongest. He had come here, without knowing it, to be something the galaxy had no category for. A species that laughed at impossible odds, asked about your armor instead of your bloodline, and brought coffee to formal ceremonies because it was going to be a long day. A species that hoped like gravity. Somewhere in the galaxy's oldest council chamber, 12,000 delegates were arguing about protocol. Marcus Cole finished his almost omelet, ordered a second coffee, and waited. Humanity had time. That is where we leave Sergeant Marcus Cole today. Not at a throne, not at a victory ceremony, at a corner table, with a cup of coffee, waiting, because that is humanity. We do not conquer the galaxy through strength. We do not earn our place through fear. We earn it through something no other species has ever managed to build into their bloodline, the absolute, unshakable, slightly ridiculous belief that it is going to work out. If you want to find out what Marcus says when the 3 princesses walk through that door, make sure you are subscribed to Dominion: Rise of Humanity. Drop a comment below with which princess you think he should choose. And if this story made you feel something, share it. Because humanity's story is just getting started. This has been Dominion: Rise of Humanity. We'll see you next time.